Hi, my name is Drew and I am a teaching artist at the Clay Studio. In this video, we're going to go through your new clay kit and learn how to make a bowl using what we call coils. Coils are just rolled worms or snakes of clay. If you look at this finished bowl, you'll see that the outside is a pattern of coils, but the inside is smooth. We're going to make our pattern by laying the coils into the bowl and then we'll smooth out the inside. Even though we smooth the inside, the pattern will stay on the outside. First, let's go through everything you'll find inside the kit. Each kit comes with a piece of clay in a small Ziploc bag, a paper bowl, a sheet of newspaper, instructions for the project, and a skewer for carving designs. This will all be inside of a larger Ziploc bag that you're going to keep, so set it aside for now. After you finish, you'll label the Ziploc bag with your name and what color you want your bowl to be. Your finished piece will be stored inside of this bag. You'll also want something to cover the table you're working on, like canvas or newspaper. The clay we're using for this project is gray right now, but it'll be white after it's fired in the kiln, or a really large clay oven. Since this is not air-dry clay, it will need to be returned to the Clay Studio and will be delivered back to you after it's fired in the kiln. The clay can easily dry out, so be sure not to play with your clay too much. Once it dries out, it can be really hard to work with. To start, you can pull off a piece of clay and roll it into what we call a coil. When you're rolling out coils, you don't need to press down against the table. You want to use your entire hand and just roll the clay back and forth until you have a coil about as thick as your finger. If your coils are too thin, your bowl will be weak and may crack during the firing. Make a few coils to get started and then start molding them into different shapes. For the first one, roll it up like a cinnamon bun. Put that first one right in the middle of your bowl. Having a swirl as your center will make your bowl stronger and less likely to crack. Once you get that first one in, you can get creative with the rest. You can fold them up into squiggles. You can mold them into shapes like a heart or a circle. You can leave them like short lines, whatever you want them to be. Next, take your newspaper and line your bowl with it. Even though the bowl is paper too, the clay will stick to it without the newspaper and crack as it's drying. If it sticks to the newspaper instead, we can just peel it off after it's dry. Keep lining your bowl with your coil shapes. Remember that you're lining the bowl, not filling it up. You just want one layer of coils. You don't want to stack them on top of each other. Once you get to the top, you can stop. Make sure your clay stays inside the bowl. If it comes out over the edge of the bowl, it will crack while it dries. If you have any leftover clay, pull off a few small pieces and roll them up into little nuggets. Use these to plug up any holes in your bowl. If you leave these holes open and try to eat out of your bowl after it's fired, your food will slip right through, so plug them all up. Once your bowl is totally lined and your holes are all plugged up, you can smooth out your inside. Use just one finger or thumb to gently scrape it smooth a little bit at a time. Take your time smoothing. You don't need to apply a ton of pressure here. Make sure you're sliding your finger across the top rather than pressing the coils down and making them thin. Once these are dry, we'll glaze them for you and fire them in our kiln, which is like a really big oven that goes up to 2,000 degrees. When the bowls are firing in the kiln, they'll change from muddy clay into rock and glass, and you will be able to eat out of them. If your bowl has any scratches, cracks, or holes, food might get caught in it and get really funky. If your bowl has a rough edge around the rim, they might get really sharp after firing. So take your time and make sure everything is all smooth. Once you smooth it all out, you can use your skewer to carve designs into it. You can carve patterns like stripes or polka dots. You can carve a picture like your dog or a flower or a sun. You can carve words into it like your name. It's totally up to you. Just make sure that you're carving really lightly because you don't want to cut all the way through your bowl. Once you've finished carving, take another minute to double check that everything is smooth and clean up any little flakes that might be along your designs. These can also get really sharp after they're fired and turn into glass. After you finish your piece, label your Ziploc bag with your first and last name and what color you want your bowl to be. There are 4 color options for your bowl. You can choose between light blue, yellow, pink, or dark blue. Please print clearly and ask for an adult for help if you need it. You can reference the tile to see what colors you can pick from and what they look like after they turn into glass. Keep your bowl inside of the paper bowl so that it doesn't lose its shape, and gently put the whole thing back inside of the big Ziploc bag and close it up really tight. You want to protect your bowl from that hot summer air. Make sure to throw out any leftover clay if you still have it. Once it dries out, it turns into dust, which you do not want to breathe in. If you covered your tables with newspaper, you can put it all in the recycling. If you use canvas or fabric, you can clean it with a wet towel or a sponge. Your finished bowls will be returned to you after they've been fired in the kiln at the Clay Studio. Once you receive your finished bowl, it'll be food safe, microwave safe, and dishwasher safe. We'd love to see photos of you working on your bowls. Take a photo and share it with us through email at info@theclaystudio.org or tag us on social media at theclaystudioPHL. We'll add your photos to the website as well.